Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is going to be the September 2024 kit release video, and hopefully this one will show up pretty expeditiously in the month of October. For disclosures note, we're recording this the day after the most recent automotive podcast, episode 13, which would put this the Tuesday the 8th of October. And hopefully we'll have it up in a couple of days. That's the plan. Whether or not work allows the editing, we will see. At any rate, we got 27 kit releases for this month. Primarily reissues, a couple of new kits in the sense that they've had parts added to them or parts recombined to create new kits. And we do have one all-new toolkit this month from Aoshima, but it may be something that is a little too late to the party. We'll let you guys decide, because after all, you're the ones that vote with your wallets on these things. I just provide you the information. So first up, we'll go over to round two. We have 4 kits this month, all of them being AMT brands, or branded, I should say. And I do want to put out there that these kits in particular, when they were announced back, I guess, the round 2 videos that they put out online, the round 2 for you channel on YouTube, is always a month in advance of the actual kit releases. If you ever watch that and they say, well, this is stuff that's coming this month, and then you try to buy that stuff this month and you can't find it, it's because really those are done not necessarily as like, oh, this is a release video. It is a upcoming products video, and it doesn't necessarily correspond to actual releases. Usually those videos, one of those kits might get released the month that they're filmed in. Usually they're always a month in the future. So these kits were announced in the September round 2 video, which would have been out a month and change ago, and they got a lot of slack from commentators who, I don't know, just apparently can't correspond and understand how time works, because all of these kits that I'm going to talk about here in a second were all released last prior to round 2 buying out the ownership interest in AMT and MPC. So these were all released prior to 2006 or earlier last time. Round 2, not a penny made off of these kits. These kits you may look at and be like, I see those at shows all the time. Keep in mind, not everybody gets to go to shows. For whatever reason, they just don't do model shows, or they literally just don't have them around. A lot of people still don't have hobby shops anywhere around them. We've seen some new ones open, but still a lot of old ones closing, as owners can't find people to buy the company, so to speak, buy the hobby shop out to keep it running. And so, yeah, you personally, individually, may have access to these model kits for less than they would cost you to buy them new. However, you aren't everybody. So, I don't want to be like, oh, he's censorship guy saying what I can and can't say, but just, have a rational, thought in your head about it. I've seen so many complaints about these 4 kits being things you could find at shows. And if you don't live in a place like Pittsburgh, where we have 5 model shows a year, legitimately 5 a year, then you can't access these unless you want to drive to Pittsburgh from wherever you are, or to whatever show you want to go to. And just be kind and rewind, as it were, when you see some of this stuff. Not necessarily to me. You can be as rude as you want to. Me, I don't care. But I'm just saying, in general, I saw there was a lot of static on the round 2 YouTube and the round 2 Facebook about these kits. It was wildly undeserved if you understand when the last time these kits were out. So, that all being said, how about some actual kits, right? AMT 69 Ford Falcon and the Modified Stalker series. This tooling goes back into the late 1960s from the Falcon annuals. After 1960 or 70 came, because 69 would have been the last annual. So the 70s showed up. The Falcon obviously didn't continue on in this format. They said, hey, what the hell? And they cut it up and made it a race car like they did with all of the other Modified Stalkers, right? A lot of those, a lot of those old annuals people want, you can't have, because they've been turned into this style of kit, and this happens to, follow on that trend. So last time this kit was released, it was out when the tooling was located in Mexico, which would have been the very, very end of AMT Ertl in Dyersville, and the beginning of Racing Champions. So that's a while back. I realize that it's that old joke, right? 30 years ago was in the 1980s, but no, really, it was the 1990s. Yeah, again, it's been a hot minute. This has pad printed drag slicks, which of course didn't exist in these kits back when they were released last, and a new decal sheet, and obviously the vintage packaging that Round 2 does. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want I think these are supposed to be asphalt modifieds. If you want this type of race car, gigantic tires and all that it has, this is your chance to buy one. And yeah, it'll be on store shelves as opposed to hobby retailers at model shows. AMT Gremlin modified stalkers, so another one of these older kits that got turned into something else. Pad printed drag slicks, again, something that was not available, or drag slicks, racing slicks. They were not available the last time this kit was released. New decals, vintage box art. This, I think this would be a dirt modified at this point. And although you could run this on asphalt, I'm trying to look at that the bottom of the box art picture there of all the open wheel modified short track cars. They're trying to figure out if that's dirt or asphalt they're running on. Could be either or with that inside guardrail like that. But yeah, this kit's from the 1970s, and if you've built any of the other modifieds out of this series that include like the Pinto and the Vega, then you know what you're expecting out of the Gremlin. Then you have something a little more modern in the sense that it came in the mid-1990s, right? It's this 1970 Chevrolet Monte Carlo Lowrider, the latest in the custom cruisers. Another just absolutely gorgeous box art there by Sean Svensson, our podcast co-host over at the Automotive Podcast. This being the Pink Motel out in L.A. This is a real, sort of a real background, and since it's a real place. And I know that the box art's gotten a lot of kudos for being, a box art place that you can recognize as opposed to just being something generic. This kit can only be built as a lowrider. It does not include the factory stock parts in it. If you want the factory stock kit, go back and find the 454 SS release from a few years back. That one's probably due for a reissue too. But in the meantime, you're getting this lowrider kit, which is pretty decent. I know lowrider guys are happy about it. Last time this kit was out was 22 years ago. Believe it or not, that's the truth. And so, yeah, it's been a hot minute. And then lastly, we have the Hemi Hustler Barracuda funny car. This is, as many astute people have pointed out, the Hemi Under Glass kit. Now, the Hemi Under Glass kit was run semi-recently, about 16, 18 years ago. I had to look up the real date, but it's just before Round 2 came into being. And so this kit, while it is a little more available in the Hemi Under Glass reissue, it's still technically not something Round 2 has ever made a penny off of. Another interesting thing, the Hemi Hustler is a kit that was done back in the day. This kit obviously dates back to the mid-1960s when this style Barracuda was around. And the Hemi Hustler came out the year after the Hemi Under Glass. And this decal sheet, I'm sure it's been available through like Slicks or somebody aftermarket in between there, but this decal sheet has been put back into a kit since 1968. So it's been a hot minute since you could build this car out of the box without outsourcing the decals. So that's pretty cool. Printed drag slicks, really drag slicks in this one, and new decals and all the rest of that jazz. Silent box art treatment there with just the end cap giving you the information. I always do like that style of box art that they do. And yeah, again, are they the most inspirational releases? Probably not. But at the same time, for a lot of folks who don't have access to that cheap secondary show market, this may be the first time they've seen some of these kits. For the Hemi Hustler, maybe the first time that you've known that actually was a kit that you could have bought had you been around that long. So, moving on to Atlantis, which has a release this month. And this is an old Revell tooling, as a lot of these kits will be. This is part of the kits that were the tooling that was still in the United States when Habaco imploded, and of course Revell was sold to its new ownership, and some of the U.S. tooling was sold to Atlantis. Again, not all. There are some U.S. tooling that was kept by Revell, but a bunch of it got shipped over there. This happens to be part of it. A very important piece of information to note. There was a production issue with this kit where it was produced with the wrong tin work, which will make sense in a second when you see it's a dragster. But it has the tin work from another kit. If you purchase one of these and you find that you still, because they didn't actually, I don't believe they actually pulled the kits that were already out. It's been fixed in subsequent, boxings of it that have been done since the error was recognized, but there are still some out in the wild that have not been corrected. if you realize you have the wrong parts of the kit, contact Atlantis immediately. And that may mean if you purchase this kit already, open it up and check it. I know, then it won't be sealed. You have to actually build it instead of just sitting on it for the next 30 years. One to talk, right? But that being said, the replacement parts are available. They are free. They will send them out to you as soon as you let them know with your, I don't know how they're doing it, of a UPC or what the manufacturer is doing necessarily to prove that you are getting, parts that you actually need and you're not just trying to scam them for some plastic parts. But that all being said, like I said, production run was done. Some things were mistakenly run, and oops. Anyway, they're fixed it. You just have to go ahead and, again, try to get a hold of it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the Mickey Thompson U.S. Marines Funny Cars. It's a 1/16 scale drag kit. It has the parts from the Vega instead of the Grand Prix in it, so whoopsie. But like I said, the parts are available. They will send them to you absolutely free of cost. You just need to contact them and get the right parts sent to you. This kit, it's going back to I guess the late 70s, early 80s when these 1/16 scale kits were tooled up. And has not been run in quite a while. I'd have to look up when it was run last. Probably should have wrote that down somewhere. But be that as it may, it's been a long time since this kit was out last. And it's kind of a unique piece because there just weren't that many of these kits. And I'm just, I have to pull this now because I'm not sure when the last time this kit was run. And I am curious. So, talks amongst yourselves while we discuss this. But let's see here. Looks like that was run last in the late 1990s with the red Mickey Thompson car. And then prior to that, it was run in 88, and it was tooled up in 1973. So, it's just an interesting piece of sort of Revell's history in the sense that, it's a unique kit, right? The only reason there's only one of these is because, I guess, my understanding from reading about this is the fact that Mickey Thompson basically made this car for himself and then wouldn't sell it to anybody else. I believe there's one copy of it that was licensed out, and that's it. So, yeah, it's a unique and kind of a one-off, but it is nonetheless pretty cool. Going over to Salvino's JR. Got 5 kits this month, actually. So first up, and this is something technically speaking you can't buy unless you know somebody. This was another Builders Club exclusive, so these kits were only sent out to the 400 and some odd people that belong to the Salvino's JR Builders Club, and any extras they may have purchased to resell. So this is a Rainier Racing 1982 Pontiac Le Mans driven by Benny Parsons. It is the J.D. Stacy livery. They had a big thing of signing the J.D. Stacy legacy, if it will, to licensing, so that this will be one of many J.D. Stacy kits that'll probably come out over the next, say, 2-3 years while that license is active. I'm not sure if I'm guessing Benny Parsons is part of that license as well. They already had Rainier Racing license, so that wasn't the issue. It was licensing sponsorships and drivers on this. And again, it's a Builders Club exclusive. There's only 550, 600 of these made. And if you want to do one of these and you don't want to pay the increased markup of this being resold on eBay, you can go to Mike's Decals, the guy who makes Power Slide, and purchase a blank Salvino's Le Mans. He had a whole bunch of runoff. They don't have any decals on them. They're just a kit in the box. And then buy the Power Slide decal sheet for this car for $10. You'll be out the door at $42, which is going to be less than this would have cost the club members, because club members would have paid $52 for this with shipping. So, yeah, you can make it yourself cheaper than the club people could buy it. I don't know if the club people realize that or not. I know we're so weird. I don't belong to the club anymore. I've retired my membership in that, but it's one of those things where yeah, but I could do it myself for less. Over to the modern NASCAR stuff. You got Alex Bowman's 2024 Camaro here in the North Wilkesboro throwback to a Jimmy Johnson scheme, obviously allied here instead of Lowe's, but the whole paint scheme that's on is, I think, his 2007 season car. But at any rate, that's available. This is Chase Elliott's car from the Chase or not the chase, but Bush Clash, I guess. Is this still the Bush Clash? It's the Clash at the Coliseum, I guess is what they're calling this. But when they run this made up short track that they've plumbed into the LA Coliseum at the beginning of the year now. Or they did, since 2024 was going to be the last year for it being there. But at any rate, this is the livery he ran there. It's popped up a couple other times this season, the white Napa livery. And then another 2023 Ford Mustang. This is Joey Logano's winning car from the 2023 Atlanta spring race. No, fall race. I like this livery, the Auto Trader livery. It's a really nice. Like I said in the past, fan of blue. I like the shade of blue, and the orange really pops on it, so that's pretty cool. And it's another Mustang out there. And then lastly, another one of the Indy cars. So remember, these are 1/20th scale. This is Scott Dixon's car from this year's Indy 500, a PNC Bank sponsorship. I'm almost tempted to buy one of these, just because my family, being my wife and I, have PNC banked for quite some time since we got together. And that's almost 20 years ago now. So, it's much like the Allied Bank cars. So it's like, hey, let me spend some more money on the bank that I use, right? They don't get enough out of the fees and the interest. So yeah, let's spend that on a livery, on a model kit. But anyway, this is available if you can find it. Remember that the Indy cars aren't sold a lot of places other than Mike's Decals and through Salvino's Yard directly. So getting a hold of one may be kind of interesting. I do want to mention one other thing before we go too much further. The Salvino's Jar. This came up in the podcast last night. People asking, is it Salvino's Junior model or Salvino Junior's models? And the answer to that is both are wrong. It is Salvino's JR models. Salvino's being Rick Salvino, and JR being Jim Rogers, the guy who owns half the company and does all of their CAD work and design work and most of their box artwork and all that stuff. He doesn't draw their decals, that's Clay, but he does all their box artwork and does all of the design work of doing all the CAD work for the kits and all that stuff. He worked with Salvino for years in collectibles and toys, figures and stuff like that. And so when they started this company, he's of course on board as half owner, and that is what the JR is. It's his initials. It's not a junior. It's his initials. Salvino's JR. Or SJR if you want to, because that's the way I abbreviate it when I type it. But it doesn't mean junior. It doesn't stand for. It's not that abbreviation. It is the gentleman's initials. So that'll take us overseas to Japan, where we have Hasegawa, Aoshima, and Fujimi. Fujimi bringing us the hits as always, right? So Fujimi, since we already mentioned it, we'll start there. It's giving you this kit. That's the Toyota Mark II 2.5, the engine size, Tourer 5. In the JZX90 series, this would have been late 1990s Toyota Mark II. And this is the GTW wing version. They saw what Hasegawa was doing, was stuffing as many pieces of lettered and words onto a box as they could. And they were like, hey, hold my beer. So this is just a very basic curbside. It's not a bad kit. It's in the late 90s Fujimi curbside. It is what it is there. This has this goofy, there's actually two goofy, but they're only showing one of them on the box art. This big goofy GT3 style rear wing, and the wheels out of a Nissan R34 GTR V-Spec 2. Those kits come out of their R34 snap-tight kit because they're polycap attached. They're not, there's no difference in the way those wheels attach than anything else because of the way Japanese manufacturers attach their kits. So yeah, if you want a Toyota with some Nissan rims and a big goofy wing on the back, that's available for you. Godspeed and good luck. Then we have this, which is a reissue of their Mazda. They're calling it Savannah RX-7 because that's the name of the car in Japan. I believe this kit does come with left-hand drive, so you can't just make an export RX-7 out of it. This is part of the High Society series, so if you look there on the box art, you do have the rib for your pleasure lower body cladding that you have to add on. The RX-7 is a pretty mediocre kit. Go buy the Tamiya one if you can find it. Go buy an Aoshima one if you can find it. Either one. The Tamiya kit obviously has an engine in it. It's the best option of all, but the Aoshima one is pretty good curbside. This has a janky motorized chassis in it that shares with the Toyota Supra. So think about, is the Supra and an RX-7 the exact same wheelbase, overall length, and width? I'm going to tell you they're not. So, yeah, it has that whole make it fit aspect. of Fujimi kits from the 1980s. Pass. We also have this, speaking of 1980s Fujimi kits, this is the Trampio 11. This is an AE86, obviously, and this has the 1985 Japanese Touring Car Championship livery on it. For some reason, it doesn't mention that anywhere on the box, but I know this, so yay for all of us. I know these things. This is the Object T team. Back in 85, which was the first year of Japanese touring car, this car and its team car were pretty much the dominant cars in the series. It's sort of before a lot of the big power cars came, before like the Sierra came over from England, and prior to obviously the GTRs coming, but even the GTS-Rs, the R31s coming along, and the Supras. This was like cream of the crop kind of thing. It's the team car is the one that I really want because it won the championship. At any rate, this does have a new chassis underneath of it. It's got that easy alignment system chassis, so it's not as crappy as it used to be. However, parts wise, this is still only giving you like the back half of the roll cage. It's not a full race interior. It's the only reason it has what it has inside of it is because this is also the kit that, as far as the interior goes, that does their initial D kit. They have their own initial D line of kits, and obviously they have their Tofu car for the Truno 11 Truno. The difference there is the pop-up headlights versus the regular style headlights. Truno has pop-ups, 11 has regular headlights. I bought one of these. I did buy one of these because I want the decal sheet out of it, or to scan the decal sheet and make my own off of it, because this set of decals is not available in the aftermarket for whatever reason. I do hope, again, that we get the other team car. I know I was saying it's weird for me to hope to get a Fujimi kit, but I want the other livery for the other car, and that's Fujimi's stuff for this month. Over to Aoshima, where we get, again, a couple of modified releases, a couple of new series starts, and then one new tool. So, modified reissues, we have this is the Garson VIP version of the Crown Majesta. This specific kit has never been created before as far as this specific version, right? The Crown Majesta has existed since 2004, so it's been around, but it's never had this Garson package. So it has a new ground effects here. The new bumpers, new side skirts, new rear valance, new rear spoiler. The Garson, again, the Garson stuff specifically is new, so that's kind of cool. We didn't get a lot of fanfare about this having a bunch of new parts added to it, so it was kind of something I was not really even paying attention to until the kit was released, and I started looking at the parts, and then started looking back through the kit history. I'm like, wait a minute, this particular kit has never existed before, so this is something we'll talk about. The BBS wheels recycled. Those 20-inch BBSs are in a bunch of different things. Plus, you can buy them as a wheel set, so they've been around. And then you have this, the Nissan Toronto High Lift, or the Lift Up. This includes a set of wheels and tires that have not previously been in the Toronto since the mid-1990s. The Toronto Lift Up in this sort of form and fashion has existed before when the Pathfinder Toronto was brand new back in 93, 94. This kit, at least, not the car necessarily. And for whatever reason, those parts were sort of taken out. Now, if you remember, I think Hanscom over at Blue Ox got this as well. There's the Hilux Surf lift up that has like the beigey looking car on it and has the same sort of wheel and tire package in it. So yeah, they're just sort of riffing off of that a little bit as being another option, right? So yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. I like the look of it. This box art sells me a model kit. I didn't buy one, but if I was in the market for one of these, I would buy it based on those box art. It does still have the left-hand drive parts in it. Those are injected molded. They weren't resin when American Satco imported this kit. So you can almost build a Pathfinder out of it, but there are no Pathfinder logos and things like that. Then we have these kits, which are the new MF Ghost series. MF Ghost is a manga. It is a graphic novel, really, in many chapters or volumes, because it's in like book form. And this particular kit here is the volume 1, so this is the introductory story. And there's a little initial D flavor to it. Now I haven't read the manga, so I don't know like the backstory to it, but just the idea that this is a kid with a Toyota 86, right? The last time we saw a kid with a Toyota 86, he was delivering tofu racing down mountains. Not the same premise for the series, but it's got that sort of like historical vibe to it, if you will. This kit is the 2016 Toyota 86 kit. Nothing's changed about it other than a set of decals, and it does have a new drone, a 4-rotor 124 scale drone added to it. You can see that a little bit on this box art here for the Volume 9. So obviously, the gentleman's a little more successful at racing. He's gotten, he's painted his hood black. He's gotten a set of Advan wheels on the car now, and the drone is following him there in the background. I believe the story, if I remember right about this, is that these cars are autonomous, and that's part of the gag is like, driving versus autonomous cars and stuff like that. But at any rate, I like it's always interesting to get the vertical. I'm trying to think there's a name for that. That's just out of my mind. I'll remember it later. But the vertical box art rather than it being widthwise like a normal model kit. But if you're interested, again, the Advan wheels are available as wheel sets, so they're just being tossed into this kit, and the new decals and the drone are really the only things going on there. And then we talked about this series starting up in the last episode we did of the August kits, because they were doing the Machine X, and they did the that weird Gullwing 240Z kit, right? This is from that same thing, and I should have had this up because, again, I don't remember what this stupid series is called off the top of my head. I don't know why it just disappears out of my consciousness all the time. What is this? This is the Saibu Kisatsu. I should remember that. You scold me if you want to, but yeah. So there's 3 of these being released. These are all, again, early 1980s Nissan Skylines. These are R30s at this point, and they are 3 different cars. I always thought these were 3 cars from like various parts of the like it was this car, and then it was this car, and then it was this car kind of thing, right? But no, these actually all existed in with one another, if you will. There were just 3 legitimately different cars. So this right here, the RS1, is known as the Pursuit and Attack Command Vehicle. So yeah, very aggressive sounding, right? And then you have the RS2 with its little bubble light attached to the door, and that, within the parlance of this TV show, is known as the Intelligence Collection Vehicle. And so, you'll see as we go through these, there's very little difference between them, and you would think, oh yeah, they're all just the same car, just slightly different. And I realized as I was looking through this, oh wait, they do have different license plates, so they are different cars. And the RS3 is the Intelligence Analyst Vehicle Machine. And I do love the fact this old school, I guess this would have been like a Betamax VCA camera with this big light and the security style, camera thing beside it, and this big computer thing that's going on in the back seat. The whole back seat's gone. There's just a computer terminal back there to analyze all that intelligence. Japanese TV. I have no other words for it other than that. That is the entire explanation to that. Japanese TV. So yeah, it's if you've ever wanted to collect this series for whatever reason and you've never done it in the past, now will be the time, because they're just kicking these things out in a big pile over the next until the end of the year. And then the new toolkit, right? So this is the Toyota GR86. It is the current version of that car. 2022 is the model year they claim they're making here. Now I say this kit's a little late to the party because, well, to me this kit's been out for 2 years already, and this is the same thing. It's a factory stock GR86, and it's only left-hand drive. I could just buy a Tamiya kit for that. Why am I buying the Aoshima kit? Now the answer to that in the past was the Aoshima kit had an engine, and while it wasn't a full engine, you didn't have a transmission to it. And I don't believe there was an oil pan for it because there's a big plastic undercoating underneath the engine, which would block out you seeing the oil pan, so there just isn't one in the kit. It did have a 20-piece engine insert. They didn't do that this time around. This thing is molded to the inside of the front fender wells like the Tamiya Nissan GTR is, where it's going to be a lot of masking to mask the engine off, to paint it inside the engine compartment, which is just always a kind of a dodgy mess, because if you don't have your paint thin to the right ratio, if you're airbrushing, you end up spidering your paint going into corners and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of that. Now, looking at the tooling to this kit as far as like how it's broken down, the firewall is separate, the scuttle panel is separate, and there is an indentation to me on the interior that would allow you to swap the pedal set over to left-hand drive. There is no left-hand drive in these. There's two of them. We'll talk about the second one here in a second. There's no way to left-hand drive these two kits right now as they stand. Maybe we'll get an export version, I hope, because that would make it different than the Tamiya kit, but otherwise it's the Tamiya kit. The only difference between this and the Tamiya kit is this kit still carries over. This is something that their version has had the entire history, is the trunk is separate. So you could pose the trunk open, or I don't know, put speakers in it, or a hydraulic system, I guess. But just, at first glance, it's just the Tamiya kit. It even has the same, I almost swore that, it has the same crappy molded in with a bunch of stuff thrown on top of an engine compartment, which is a really big cheap out. And legitimately, it's financially, it's a cheap out, but it's just a cheap out. It was the one thing that made their kits the better kit as far as I was concerned, other than the fact they did like the Rocket Bunny stuff, which, to me, I never did. It was just factory stock, but So there's the white box art one that we've shown you, and then there's this one, which is the alternate wheel version. This is a set of Advan wheels, and that is the only difference between the two, is what set of wheels comes with it. If you get this one, I don't believe it comes with the actual factory stock rims, so you can only build it with a set of this wheel set. So, if you're just going to build it for the sake of building it, buy the white one because it's molded in white, and this was molded in red. Like, why would you want to buy something molded in red if you didn't have to? But otherwise, yeah, unless you're really in love with that set of wheels, you can put whatever set of wheels on the one that you don't have to try to repaint something color other than red. So that is that. So lastly, the stuff at Hasegawa, just a few things that are sort of floating around. We have this release here, which is known as a Nissan Pulsar GTR Nismo Complete Car version. So what this is a factory prep rally car that was over the counter through the Nissan dealership. Much the same way that Subaru did with their WRX for many years. You could walk into the dealership and buy this car off the showroom floor and go rallying with it. Already came with a roll cage in it, already came with 5-point racing seats, and all of the Group N basis, all that stuff for rallying. So this is the Nismo livery, the red, white, and blue thing. Those decals are included in the kit. There is no two-tone painting, I don't believe. There may be a little bit, but for the most part, the decals do all the heavy lifting here, which is nice because Hasegawa decals have been a little weird lately. With that, so it's good to see them cover all the things you need to cover with it. And yeah, basically, like I said, it's just a street version of the rally car. It's a homologated rally car, basically. And it's kind of a cool little piece. And it was legitimately something they made. It was legitimately something you could buy. So yeah, there's that. Then we have this kit, which is a reissue with new decals. It is the Trampio Corolla 11 AE92 1991 JTC. This was still technically Toyota Team Tom's, with Trampio running the actual car. This is the same blue as all of the Toyota Team's cars are. So all the other Corolla 11s that you've seen that are this shade of blue, and the 2 years of Toyota Supra with the Bayou and the Fujitsu 10 livery are all painted the same blue. And this is that car from 1990, recycled into 1991 with a different paint scheme on it, but it is otherwise the same shade of blue still. So these Corolla 11s are pretty nice kits. And it's another option for it. This car finished podium in the first race of the year. Rest of the year was a precipitous decline. It was like third place, then like sixth place, and then it was a lot of did not finishes and barely finished, and it was not a great year for that team specifically. And then you have this, which is the Porsche 968 with Sarah Mayuki figure. So this is an Eggplane Girls thing, and it does come with a resin 124 scale figure of Sarah, and of course the livery you see there with all of the crazy graphics on what is a pretty decent kit. It's Porsche 968, right? It's a full detail kit, has an engine in it, stuff like that. This is probably not the most monetarily efficient way to purchase the kit. It's been released a bunch of times in the last 10-15 years without all of the extra add-ons, but yeah, I mean, without going too far into it, it's an option, right? If you like you like to resin girl all the things. And while we're resin girling all the things, you can get this Toyota Supra. This is a 2.0 GT twin turbo 1990 car with girls figure. again, the apostrophe in the wrong place there, right? It is, I suppose it is her figure. She does possess it, but that's not what we're meaning. You see what she looks like there in a box art. It's blue jeans and I don't know, what is that called? It's not a tank top. It's sleeveless sweater vest, basically what she's got on there. And she is permanently in the position of where did I put my car keys? Oh, my hair. So yeah, there aren't a lot of 124 scale figures out there. This is just another one, I guess. And then we sort of saved the best for last year because this has probably gotten the most amount of commentary and whatnot. Now that nobody's watching because it's the end of the video, right? This is the Honda Civic 3-door hatchback custom version. So if you've never bought any of their Civics, they're, again, modern Hasegawa kits are really pretty good. I can't call them Tamiya because they're not quite there, but they're certainly the next tier down, and not in a bad way. They're just not Tamiya kits. And if you've built a Tamiya kit and a Hasegawa kit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. At any rate, this has the over fenders and the outside aero package from their race car kits. There's several race car kits from what was known as Minor Touring, which was a low CC rated touring series that ran alongside some of the more popular racing series in Japan at the time, and the civilian kit, which there's 3 or 4 of now. So they're taking all of that exterior race car stuff, the racing wheels and all that, and throwing it into the civilian kit, and you get this custom version out of it. So it is a re-amalgamation of parts. It's something the box art has sold a lot of people on, and it has gotten a lot of positive commentaries. So if you've been waiting on that kit, it's available. And yeah, guys, that wraps up this month. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on the other side.